What do you like to do in your free time?
Oh, I like to pray. No, I'm just kidding. I do pray, obviously. We pray. My name is Father Michael Garcia. I am 30 years old, and I started discerning the priesthood when I was at the end of my time in high school. This is my 4th year as a priest. I would say that this has been the most welcoming parish I have ever been to. And I've been at great parishes before, don't get me wrong, but considering like how new I was and how fresh, I guess I was to this position as the administrator, I was just so overwhelmed with the love that the people have shown me, and I really couldn't have asked for a better parish. What I like the most about being a priest is reaching out to people, bringing them closer to Christ, and really just enjoying my time as an alter Christus, as another Christ unto others, and I really enjoy my job. Get to meet all sorts of people and travel to all sorts of places. What's my favorite part of the Mass? I'd have to say the Eucharistic prayer. I think that's the most awesome act any human person can do, is to, as Catholics believe, is to change mere bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ. I think there's nothing greater than that. I also enjoy, I would say secondary would be the actual preaching. I do like to preach. People make New Year's resolutions. For example, I had a teacher who loves to lift weights, and every year he would always complain about how crowded his gym would get at the beginning of each year. But during those times when he complained, he would simply remind himself that in about 3 months' time, the gym would be empty again, because people would abandon their resolutions. And something that I had to grow into, because I was very shy growing up. In fact, I was an extreme introvert. But I think part of the priesthood is not only bringing the sacraments to people, but communicating the message of the gospel. And so I would say those are my 2 favorite things about the Mass. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about the priesthood. And I think that people forget that the primary job of the priesthood is the salvation of souls, is to bring people to Christ. And I think one of the hardest things is to have them have an understanding of who the real Christ is. Because oftentimes what you hear is all these different ideas of who Christ was, but very seldom do you hear people actually talk about Christ in the context of what you find in Scripture. And so I think it's very important for young people to reconnect with the Christ that we find in Scripture, that Christ is not somebody out in the ether that we can't relate with. After all, that's the whole point of the Incarnation, was so that Christ can come down and relate with us, and more importantly, for us to relate with Him. And I think that's what we have to communicate to young people. So my goal as a priest is first and foremost for me to grow in holiness. You know, everybody chooses their vocation precisely to grow in holiness, whether it's husband and wife to help each other grow in holiness, or religious, or even as a priest. And my goal is first and foremost for me to grow in holiness, and that's, you know, to practice my life of virtue. But secondary, as my vocation as a priest, is to help everybody else to grow in holiness. In the same way that a husband helps his wife grow in holiness, and the wife does the same for her husband, I do the same for the community that has been assigned to me. And so my goal is to help everyone get to heaven. After all, that should be our ultimate vocation in life. If I was to say something to my future self, I would say, remain faithful to your life of prayer, continue to stay close to the Eucharist, and always be present for the people of God.